The Forest That Remembered Names. English Story Level 4. At the northern edge of Halloran Valley stood a forest unlike any other. Travelers called it Whisperwood because whenever the wind passed through its branches, the trees murmured faintly, as though speaking. Many believed the forest carried memories, names of people who had wandered there long ago. 14-year-old Lena had grown up hearing stories about Whisperwood from her grandfather, who claimed the trees once spoke to him when he was a child. One quiet morning, after her grandfather fell ill, Lena ventured into the forest hoping to find the rare herb he needed to recover. She slipped between ancient oaks, the air cool and thick with shade. As she walked deeper, she noticed something strange. The whispers were not random, they were repeating her name, softly at first, then clearer. Lena, Lena. She felt a chill but pressed on, believing the forest was guiding her. Sunlight filtered through patches of leaves, revealing a narrow path worn smooth by footsteps long forgotten. The farther she went, the more the forest seemed alive. Trees leaned slightly toward her, vines curled out of her way, and patches of moss lit with faint blue light. After an hour, Lena reached a clearing with a stone well at the center. Carved around its edge were dozens of names, some old enough to be worn away. As she traced her fingers over the carvings, one name glowed faintly, her grandfather's. Shocked, she called out into the silence, asking why the forest remembered him. A tall willow beside the well rustled, and its trunk split open, revealing a glowing figure made of swirling leaves and pale green light. It introduced itself as the memory spirit of Whisperwood. It explained that the forest carried the names of everyone who had ever sought its help. Lena's grandfather had once saved the forest from a spreading blight, and in return the trees vowed to protect him and his descendants. The memory spirit said the herb Lena sought, Moonmoss, was indeed within the forest, but it was guarded by forgotten memories that had turned dangerous. Old regrets, fears, and sorrows lingered as shadowy shapes near the deepest roots of Whisperwood. To reach the Moonmoss, Lena would have to face these forgotten thoughts. Though afraid, Lena agreed. Following the memory spirit, she descended into a hollow beneath the willow tree. The air grew colder, and shadows formed into shapes, figures whispering doubts and fears Lena had pushed aside over the years. She heard echoes of times she had failed, moments she wished she could forget, and worries she hid from others. Lena trembled but remembered her grandfather's words. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to move despite it. She stepped forward and acknowledged each shadow, accepting them instead of running. Slowly the shadows softened, dissolving into harmless wisps of light. At the heart of the hollow, Lena found a patch of glowing moonmoss growing on an ancient root. She gathered it carefully and followed the memory spirit back to the surface. As she left the clearing, the forest whispered once more, not with warnings but with gratitude, calling her name like a blessing. When Lena returned home and brewed the medicine, her grandfather recovered within days. He smiled when she told him what happened, saying Whisperwood had always watched over their family. From then on, Lena often visited the forest not out of fear, but out of friendship. And whenever the wind passed through the branches, Whisperwood whispered her name with warmth, remembering her always.